Hello, world. We're live. Welcome to this February 2026 edition of the Laravel Worldwide Meetup. My name is Dan Sapelsa. I'm one of your co-hosts, and along with my co-host, Margot Tavares, we're thrilled to bring you another presentation from an awesome member of this Laravel community that we love so much. Speaking of Margot, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Dan. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. There's just, I was just thinking about so much going on, right? From today, we happen to be fortunate to be part of such a big day for the Laravel team, celebrating the 1 year anniversary of the launch of Laravel Cloud and all of the live streaming going on from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern today. So be sure to tune in for more content coming up later on the Laravel YouTube channel. But then also, we're in the midst of, we got Laracon EU coming up next week. We've just, since we last met, we've had the announcement of the Laracon US venue in Boston, Massachusetts at the end of July. Just really excited about today's presentation and hopefully the end of, soon to be the end of winter here in Canada. It's been a long and cold winter for us in sort of the northeastern part of the the North America. So lots I'm excited about, including today's talk. So before we get to today's presentation, we've got a little bit of, as we always do, some community stuff to have a look at. So what do we got going on, Margot?
Cool. Thanks, Dan. So yeah, lots of exciting things going on. And speaking of exciting stuff, we want to tell you about a lot of things that are going on in the Laravel community. So if you haven't heard about the Laravel News website, please check them out at laravelnews.com. It's ran by Eric Barnes and Jake Bennett and Michael Drinda with their podcast, and they discuss all the latest things that are happening in the Laravel community. So if you want to check them out, there's a lot of great news there. We also have the Laravel podcast with Matt Stauffer. And so for this season, Matt's been interviewing a lot of the Laravel team. So if you want to get to know a little bit more about what's going on in the Laravel world, please check them out at laravelpodcast.com. We also have Lara Jobs. So if you have if you're looking for some Laravel developers, you're looking to hire, you're looking to post a job, and really for all your Laravel job needs, you can check them out at larajobs.com. We also have some community posts that we wanted to highlight. So some companies that are looking for some Laravel developers, you can contact Donato's Pizza and Highlights for Children, who's specifically looking for a director of software engineering role. And we also have Microventures, who's also looking for a full stack developer, and they're also looking for full-time and based in Texas. So if you want to know a little bit more about them, you can check out all the information that we'll have in the description box below after the meetup. We also have Laracast as another great resource. So big thank you to Jeffrey Way for running this awesome resource for anyone looking to build their Laravel skills. And it's a great platform to learn with others in the Laravel community. So check them out if you want to learn some Laravel. And you can check out the community page, so community.laravel.com, for an in-depth source of all the meetups that are happening all over the world, again, with the really exciting day of Laravel Cloud Day. And if you have an event or a meetup that you'd like to share, you can register your event on the Laravel website on their new page. So check them out at community.laravel.com. Laravel Stories is another great resource, and Laravel team wants to shine a light on all developers that are using Laravel in all parts of the community. So whether you're just starting out or if you've been using Laravel for a long time, you can check them out by posting your story and sharing with the world. And so if you want to hear it out and share your story, head over to laravel.com/stories, answer some of Taylor's questions, and share your story with the community. I also wanted to thank our host, Vehicle, for their support in hosting this meetup. They have a great team of developers. So if you have a Laravel problem, they'd be happy to help you out. So you can hit them up at vehicle.com or email go@vehicle.com. We also have a giveaway every meetup. So big thanks to our sponsor, JetBrains. So you can win a couple of 1-year subscription codes to any JetBrains IDE. And the winners will receive an email if they win. So just scan that QR code, answer a couple of questions, and you'll be notified if you're a winner. And I'll pass it off to Dan to introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you, Margot. Our presenter today needs no introduction in the Laravel community. We've also, for Margaret and myself, the first guest we had on as co-hosts of the Laravel Worldwide Meetup. Caleb is the creator of Laravel Livewire. And also Margaret and myself back in October, were fortunate enough to attend the first official Livewire sort of conference day and Wire Live event in Buffalo, at which point Caleb shared a lot of details of the recently released Livewire 4, as well as this exciting new project called Blaze. And that's what he's here to talk about today. And we're really, really excited to hear all about it. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Caleb, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. Awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I got my palm trees behind me, and a Coke Zero
ready to go. All systems go. All right. So yeah, so for today, as you know, your talks are always very engaging, but we want to really
Not this one, but yeah, most of the time.
engage the audience as well today. So please, use the chat on YouTube here as a source for your questions or your comments about. Caleb's going to share some technical details of this project, and then eventually launch Blaze here on the stream. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions about what's that all about, and how do I use this thing, and how can I benefit from it, and all those sorts of things. So please encourage everyone to pop those questions in the chat, and we'll get them to Caleb and have a real cool kind of interactive stream in addition to the presentation. Does that sound right?
Sounds good. Yeah. Awesome. Yep. Throw stuff in there. We're hanging out. This is a launch party.
Yeah. We're just chilling.
Grab your pizza. Grab your Donato's pizza.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's how I think you should pronounce it. I think they did that just because it's like, it looks exactly like Domino's with a few. It's brilliant.
It's way different. It's
better. Way better.
All right. So you do have a bit of a presentation, I believe, Caleb, right? Do you want to share your screen, and you have some code or some slides or something? Of the above. So,
all right, here we go. Share the screen. Doing it. It's happening right now. Boom.
All right. I think I
see it.
I think I see it. There it is.
Code. Awesome. Let me ask you this: you say we go light, or you say we go dark?
Ooh, we're gonna need. One's in the chat for light, two's in the chat for dark. What do we think?
Yeah, let's ask the chat.
Yeah,
because we're either doing Tokyo Night, Tokyo Night Storm, or IU Light bordered. Now we're not going to do a ton of browser switching,
dark,
so it's really
says light. We got two. We got. I'm seeing a lot of dark.
Tip of skills. Dark.
Yeah, we got the majority going dark right now.
All right, and now do we do Tokyo, Cat Poutine, Natty? All right, we're going to do Tokyo Night Storm. It's going to be perfect. The only problem is this isn't great contrast, but it's worth the dark mode.
Is there a differentiation between Tokyo Night and Tokyo Night Storm?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's darker. And the Storm is lighter, which you wouldn't think.
You'd think the other way around, potentially.
But I've been digging a bunch of other random stuff. Rose Pine. I did a whole thing the other day for this meetup. I was like, I got to refresh on what's out there and what's good. So what I highly recommend, my first hot tip for my presentation, is go to YouTube, search Rainy Tokyo Night Lo-Fi, and just listen to that all day and put Tokyo Night theme on, and it will make you a better developer. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay. All right. So we're ready to go. We got the theme. Here we go. Let's talk Blaze. So, story,
I think if it's all right, Margaret and I, we'll just step backstage for a moment, and then once
why don't you just step backstage?
We'll get some questions, and then we'll get interactive after that. If that sound good?
Yeah.
Just all right. We'll
talk
to you
anytime. Interrupt. Happy to have you
shortly.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks. Okay. Flux is slow. That's a bummer. I launched Flux in 2024. I was real excited about it. Thought it was great. Thought it was fast. And then in November, I got this issue, rendering performance struggle. And somebody's like, hey, rendering, 1,600 components, which isn't that many, took 3 seconds. And I was like, oh no, what have I done? And then somebody said, well, I rendered 11,000 and it was 500 milliseconds. I was like, okay, that's better, but that's still bad. And so this just became a big dog pile of people showing different rendering performances with different component amounts. And really the big takeaway is that Flux is slow when you have a big page or a really big app, and that's a bummer. There's ways to optimize around it, but it is slow. And so that's the bad news, is that Flux is slow. The good news is I dug into it and I found out it's not Flux. It's not Flux's fault. It's Blade. Blade components are slow. It's Blade's fault. But the bad news, again, is that who cares whose fault it is? Flux uses Blade components. It is a bunch of Blade components. So we have to optimize Blade. We have to make Blade fast. So I went on this whole journey trying to understand, why is Blade slow? What's going on under the hood? How can we make it fast? And at the end of it all, came up with Blaze. And I teased it at Laracon. You probably saw it. Maybe you definitely didn't. There was a demo at Laracon about Blaze. And it's come a long way since then. We've changed strategies a bunch. And Philip Gagnitz, who's in the audience right now, he works with me. He's on the Livewire team. He did a ton on Blaze. He rethought a lot of things. And so he gets a ton of credit for everything that's happened with Blaze in the past month or two. But we're going to launch it all today. It's going to be official 1.0. You can install it in your projects. We've been installing it in big apps. It's currently live on the Flux docs, and it's great. So let's jump into it. Flux is slow. Okay, So Flux is slow because Blade is slow. How come I never noticed that Blade is slow? Like I've been using Blade a pretty long time at this point, and I never felt like it was slow. And this is why. This is not data. This is just my gut. Look at this. You got a button class BTN, BTN danger, BTN small. You remember this? You recognize this? This is Bootstrap. This is how we styled all of our applications. And even if you didn't use Bootstrap, you did something like this. All of your style reuse in your templates was done at the CSS level. So it was all buried in one CSS file that got loaded one time. And your backend templating engine didn't have to do that much. It's basically a string concatenator, not much more than that. So we all switched to Tailwind, which is great. This is the button in Flux. This is a Tailwind Flux button. So there's a lot of utility things here, font, medium, white space, no wrap, whatever. You have all of these things. And of course, you're not going to copy and paste this throughout your application. So how do you get that reuse? Well, I mean, the Tailwind docs themselves tell you to extract components and partials in your application for things like a button. So now what we're dealing with is, well, we have Blade components in Laravel, which are fantastic, a great abstraction. They do everything you'd want to do. So we have this life now. You have a Blade component called button. You maybe pass something like a variant danger if you want it to be red, size small if you want it to be small. And you do all of this stuff in PHP. So now the template has to do like so much more heavy lifting. Instead of just CSS switching a bunch of stuff with BTN danger, now you have some if statement in your Blade template that changes the classes that get put into the class, attribute in the element. So this is the world that we live in now. And I think this is why Blade never felt slow, because we had 50, 100 different Blade components on a page for big parts of the page. But now we're using Blade components at a very granular level all over your application. So whether it's Flux or your own UI library that you made for your app with Blade, you are running into this problem where you have a table with a select dropdown with 100 items in it. And that's like repeated, hundreds of times. And that is, so that's why it's slow. That's why we have so many components now. Let's define slow, because we're going to be talking milliseconds a lot. So you should have a good intuition about what a millisecond means. How fast should a page load? So when you load a page in the browser, let's go to the Flux docs and look in the network tab, and you can look at, network tab, refresh, normal. Okay, there you go. So scroll to the top. So, okay, this page took 217 seconds to load. Some of that was downloaded content. It looks like the server took 155 milliseconds to do its thing. I think that's a pretty fast page. I would say anything from 50 to 150 milliseconds for a page to load is fast, right? And then fine, like acceptable would be like 150 to maybe 350. These are bad metrics, by the way. These are vibe metrics. These are off the top of my head, just gut feeling that I have. Slow is obviously anything more than that. Anything into the seconds, that's bad, like really slow. And there's all this data about like 7% conversion rate drop for every certain amount of milliseconds after that. But in general, this is what you're shooting for. Not always possible if it's like a big page with a lot of queries and things, and then you shoot for something in this range. But that's what we're going for. Anything over, so all those people in those issues that are saying 3 seconds, 2 seconds, that is unacceptable. All right, so how many components are on a given page? So I think this is me just loading pages and apps that I have and seeing how many components are on a given page. I think a normal page is between like 500 and 1,500 components, Blade components. A beefy one is maybe 1,500 to 5,000 or 10,000. Crazy big is maybe like 10,000 to 25,000. And then there's things after that. Like I saw somebody reported slowness and it was like a spreadsheet. They made like a spreadsheet in Blade and it was like 45,000 Blade components. That's absurd. I don't like your browser can't even render that many elements quickly at all. So I think these are the thresholds. It's like, this is very reasonable. This happens often for bigger pages. And then this is like for those really big data table-y pages. Okay, so that's what is slow. Some milliseconds, some amount of components. We have some numbers. We're grounded. Now let's start looking at actual performance metrics. Okay. All right. How slow is Blade if it's actually slow? Well, let's actually render 25,000 Flux buttons and see for ourselves. So I have this benchmark view right here. It's just a for loop of 100 and then a Flux button. And then down here, I'm going to run, well, I'll show you this in the browser so you can see that it's just a page. Yeah. So this is 100 Flux buttons. I don't have Tailwind or anything, so they don't look good, but I bet if we inspect them, you'll see, yeah, these are full Flux buttons right there. Okay. And I made a little benchmark thing. So PHP artisan benchmark, and this is just going to sit there and monitor this file for changes when I save it, and it'll rerun that benchmark and it'll detect how long it takes and put it in there. All right, so I'm going to hit save on this. 8.58 milliseconds. That's okay, 7.6, whatever. That's how long it takes to render 100 buttons. That's actually kind of slow, but let's crank it all the way up. And we're going to use this big number, this 25,000 for all these metrics, because the bigger the numbers, the better Blaze looks. Okay, hit save. And now grab your Donato's pizza, grab a cup of coffee, take a sip of Coke Zero. 1,333 milliseconds. Whoa, for 25,000 buttons. That's a lot of milliseconds. 13333. That's crazy. Now, there is a lot going on inside of a button. Let me show you the actual source code of a Flux button. There's a lot of like match variants, primary, use this background, otherwise use this background. Sizes, if it's like small, use height 8. If it's extra small, use height 6. A lot of this type of switching going on. There's subcomponents like a tooltip. If you pass tooltip, it uses a nested component for a tooltip, nested component for a loading icon. So it's not just one component. This is maybe 5 components with a ton of PHP. So it takes a long time. So that makes it kind of hard to figure out, like, whose fault is the slowness? Is it Blade or is it me? Is it the decisions I made inside that Flux component? So I want better answers. I want to know, how slow is Blade itself, like just Blade overhead. Okay. So let's get rid of this and we'll use a simple X button component. And this is the source code for that. It's just a button tag. Okay. And this is the component we're going to use from here on out. X button, it's essentially nothing. This is to purely measure Blade performance. Okay, so let's load this, and it says 80 milliseconds. So we know that Blade components, if you render 25,000 empty Blade components, it's going to take 80 milliseconds, which is pretty slow. Again, like, remember how we're trying to you want your Blade rendering to be like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 milliseconds, because you still have a lot of other stuff to do in a given Laravel request. Okay, so that's how slow Blade overhead is. Now I want to know, like, what goes into that? This is what I sort of started with, is like, I made some hypotheses. I thought, all right, maybe one reason it's slow is it has to parse Blade components. Like, it has to know stuff like this X hyphen, like maybe that's slow. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just because they're all separate files now. There's so many requiring of external files that is slow. So let's test some of these hypotheses. So that's a Blade component. It's 80 milliseconds. Let's do a Blade include. So we'll drop down to just including the page itself. We'll include that file, and that's 44 milliseconds. Okay, so it is faster. And I thought, okay, so that's how long it takes to include a file in PHP, is 44 milliseconds if we do that 25,000 times. Well, let's test that hypothesis and make sure that that is true by using a normal PHP require. So drop down from Blade include and use require, or include. We could probably use that as well. Let's hit save and check that out. 4 milliseconds. That's crazy. That's 10 times faster. I can't even believe that it only takes 4 milliseconds for PHP to require a file 25,000 times. That is wild to me. So yeah, pretty freaking fast. Let's see what it looks like to just do an inline button like this. 2.99 milliseconds. Okay, 3 milliseconds. So that was one of the first myths busted, is, okay, it's not actually requiring an external file. PHP is incredibly fast at that. The op cache is something that it uses internally to make file reads not cost that much, especially repeated files. So yeah, I learned that. That was something. And also just that PHP is freaking fast at like compiling strings. Like this loop 25,000 times over this string is 3 milliseconds to render. And the browser takes longer to render them all, in the browser. So all right, so there's some information here, like Blade is slow and it's doing something. What is it doing that is making it slow? I want to know that. Well, I have a few hypotheses, but let's just show you. I'll build it up here. So let's do this. PHP. Okay. Now, if I type app, let's just see how fast that is. Okay, 3.46 milliseconds. It's very fast. If I type app view to get the view factory, like if you ever seen this or something in your controller, that's what this is. You're just getting the view factory out of the Laravel container. So let's see how fast that is. 16.2 milliseconds. Interesting. This is something that I learned. Like Laravel container lookups they cost something. They cost a lot more than an if statement, for sure. So if you have a Laravel container lookup in a hot path in your app like this, that's in a giant loop, that is costing you something actually substantial. Now let's make a view. So we'll say components button, and let's see what that does. Okay, about 30 milliseconds. So it doubled it just to make the component. So there's clearly a lot of stuff going on. Like it's resolving a blade view. It's looking things up. It's, it's doing a lot of lookups. Lookups are expensive. And then if we render this to actually complete the cycle here, render, that is 55 milliseconds. And I think this actually works. No, it doesn't work because I didn't echo it. I don't know. I definitely don't need to do this, but I'm just kind of curious. Okay, there you go. So there you go. We've simulated an add include, and it took 56 milliseconds. So why is a blade component slower? Well, it does even more things. It's like array merge, all this stuff. There's the attribute bag that it has to build up. There's slots. There's all of these things that happen that make it pretty slow, right? So why is it slow? Recap, it's container lookups. That's a big one. It's view resolution. That's a big one as well. There's like array merging is not cheap. Array merging, copying, diff keying, all that stuff is expensive, and that happens. And really, it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's all of these things that happen a lot that make Blade slow. Add includes, Blade components, things like that. All right, show me the slow. So here's the part where we're seeing how slow Blade is, but I need you to see, so I need you to understand how Blade works under the hood before we move forward, right? Okay, we need to see Blade's compilation process because Blaze has a lot to do with that. This is something that it was like an aha moment for me a while ago when I started building Livewire and had to learn about these things. I had some misconceptions about how Blade worked. This is how I thought Blade worked. You write something like this, include, okay? Now, you know that PHP doesn't know what to do here, right? You know that PHP has no idea what add include is. Clearly, Laravel does. So somehow Laravel has to take it from this to pure PHP, right? But when does it do that? That's the part that I didn't really understand, and I didn't even bother to think about. I thought, I bet somewhere when you load a page, Laravel just real quick takes this text and turns it into normal PHP, and that's what gets run. And that is true, sort of. And I thought, well, compiling those Blade components into files, that's like a separate optimization. Like when you run in your deploy script, you have PHP artisan optimize, and it actually, that's why you have to have like view cache clear or cache whatever. You have those types of clearing the cache. It's like, oh, so sometimes you can, optimize your routes. You can also optimize your Blade views. So you can pre-compile them so they're already compiled. So they, it saves a bunch of time. And it's true and not true. What happens is Blade always compiles every file to a separate cached file and runs that file. And if you want to pre-compile it, you can, and it's just going to sit there in your file system. But whatever, you'll see what I mean in a second. So let's run this file and let's look inside our storage framework views right here. Okay. Now there's a lot of stuff there. These are all the compiled files. I'm going to run PHP artisan view clear, and you're going to see this file disappear. Okay. So now it's flushed out. Now, again, if we just load this page, so I load this page and it created 2 compiled files. So Laravel is always creating a compiled file if it doesn't exist, and PHP is just running those compiled files. Let's look at them. So there's one compiled file for every Blade component or every Blade file. Every Blade file has a matching PHP compiled version, right? So this is the button one. It's just button, and then it has this little note here called path that says this is resources, views, components, button.blade.php. And then this one is our benchmark Blade file. So it looks nearly identical, except you're not going to see Blade in it anymore. You're going to see an echo statement. And this is pretty interesting. If you take a look, you'll see that add include is doing what I showed you before. Make, array diff, render, it's doing all of those things. That's what's happening under the hood. Now take a look. If I render X button like this and hit save, this is what gets compiled a lot. And you look at this and you go, oh, Blade components must be slow because they turn into like 20 lines of code. It's not. I've learned that things like if statements and is said and assignments, they're basically free. The slow things is resolving a view by name, array merging, instance of, like should render, resolve, all this extra stuff, So this is how Blade compilation works. Just to drive that point home, you write some Blade here and it turns into actual PHP in a file somewhere else that now if we have hey a million times, you can modify this compiled file and not the source file, just to prove to you that the compiled file is the thing that gets run. The source file is just a reference, and they compare the file modified times so that if this file gets modified and it's sooner than the other one, then it'll recompile that file. Okay, makes sense. And that's why the first request is always slower than subsequent requests when you're using Blade. Okay, back to business. Let's keep going. How do we make it fast? Okay, you learned about some slowness. You learned about why it's slow. Now we need to make it fast. Of course, this is what Blaze is for. I give you Blaze, a high-performance Blade compiler with a chart. Look at that. This is without Blaze. You'd be a poor schmuck on this gray curve going up to 7 seconds. And with Blaze, ooh, nice, beautiful, strong orange curve, very small. That's Blaze. Let's install it. This is how you install Blaze. Composer, require Livewire Blaze. Right now I'm going to do dev main because we didn't tag a 1.0 yet. So you require it in your application. Great. Now you have Blaze. And if you want to use it, you have to add it to a component that you want to use it. So let me split this down and open up button blade.php. Okay. And now I want to Blazeify this. So I write @Blaze. So any component that you want to make really fast with Blaze, you use @Blaze. You can also alternatively, I think right here we have this, you can, in your service provider, you can optimize entire directories. So if you don't want to do this on a per component basis, you can just say Blazeify all of my components in my app. Okay, so you add Blaze, and now, whoa, did you see it? Well, we didn't actually. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to a normal empty button Blade component with Blaze. Ooh, got it down to 18 milliseconds. So that was for the compiled time. So that's always longer. And then subsequent times, it's 14 milliseconds. So that's pretty cool. What Blaze does is it basically takes away 90% of Blade's overhead. I'm so sorry you have to hear me say the word Blade and Blaze constantly. You should, I'm more sorry for me because I have to keep them straight all the time, and I will not keep them straight. So that's what it does. Blaze just evaporates a lot of Blade component overhead just for free out of the box with almost no cons. There are a few, like I should mention, if you open up the Blaze docs, you can see the restrictions section here. It's like if you do want to use Blaze, there are some limitations, like just a lot of little things that cost performance that I never use, so we don't support them. The component variable, view composers, view share. If you need any of these things, then don't use Blaze components. Just use a normal Blade component. Okay, so that's pretty great. Let's take a look at that Flux button again and see what happens. Now, I'm going to warn you, it's going to be shocking. You're going to be shocked. Okay, so get ready to be shocked. And we've done a lot of optimizing of Flux, like specifically for Blaze. And this is a really cool thing is we own the Flux components. We write them, we maintain them. So we can fine tune things to like bigger degrees. So watch this. I'm going to hit save on 25,000 Flux buttons and see what happens. Okay, 6.38 milliseconds. Yep, there we go. 6 milliseconds. That's absurd. It went from 1,400 milliseconds to 6 milliseconds. That's a 10 billion times, I think, increase in speed, which is wild. This is the big kind of moment here of this whole presentation is that Flux to render 25,000 buttons took 1.5 seconds. And now it takes a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of a single second because we do a bunch of other stuff that I'm excited to show you about. So let's get into it. How does Blaze work? What is this magic? How is it happening? There's 3 levels of optimization with Blaze. The first level, when you add @Blaze, you get the first level. Okay. What is that first level? It's an optimized compiler. It's a new Blade compiler. We kind of sit on top of Blade and we do our own little step ahead of Blade where we analyze some things and we just optimize away all those lookups, all that app lookup, all that view lookup. We take those away. And now you get something that is much faster, like you saw, like 90% faster if your component was empty, essentially. Okay, so let me show you the optimized compiler so you can literally see it work. So let's open up that file. Let's clear the cache again, just so we can kind of get our wits about us, X button, save this, okay? And now in here, we're going to open up boop, boop. Okay, so let's see it without Blaze again, just to remind ourselves. No Blaze, this is what gets compiled. A lot of stuff, right? With Blaze, come on now. All right, this is with Blaze. It has much less stuff, but you'll notice there's no lookups. There's all these things hard-coded. Like we're literally hard-coding in the source file. We're hard-coding in the compiled file even so that we don't have to look anything up. And we're essentially turning each component into a function that we call and we pass parameters. Like watch this. If I do button and I say label equals foo and I hit save, It's passing in those parameters to a function. That's not how Blade works out of the box, but I think that's how it should work. I think that like that's how React works and Vue. Like they turn components into functions that get called that ingest props and then they spit out HTML. Like this, in theory, should compile to something like function button props and slots or something like that, and whatever else, and then return, button, and then concatenate in whatever. You get the idea, right? Like that's what it should do. And so that's what we've made it do. We can look at the actual button file to show you what it gets compiled to. So you saw it was really simple in normal Blade. It's just a button. Well, here we're compiling it to, again, a function with a hash. It's not button, it's a hash of the word button. And then Blaze, data, slots, and things like that. And eventually, we do all the scoping and then we have your thing. So this is a lot of code. You don't understand it, at first glance. It's confusing and whatnot. I'm sorry about that. Compiled code is absolute like disgustingness to look at. But I think you get the idea. We basically turn your components into functions and we call them directly, and that skips all of that extra overhead and that makes it fast. Okay, that's optimization level 1. Optimization level 2 is memoization. Okay, what is memoization? It's basically caching. You're probably definitely familiar with it. If you're not familiar with the name, you're definitely familiar with the concept, and I'll show you this. Let's get rid of this loop. Okay. Now we got this one button, but I'm going to make this slow. Let's beef up this component a little bit. Let's say props, typing, label, and null. And then in here, we'll echo out label. Okay. And then I'm also going to make this slow. I'm going to add you sleep, I sleep, we all sleep, times 100. So this is 100 milliseconds. Okay. All right. Save this file. And save this file. So 3 of these components to render is going to take 300 milliseconds. And that makes sense. One of them is going to be 100, 2 is going to be 200, and 3 is 300 because it's rendering every single one, and every single time it's sleeping for 100 milliseconds, right? So let's load this up in the browser. There we go. Foo. Okay, 3 components. Yep. Now, if we add memo true, what's going to happen is Blaze is going to memoize these components for us. It's basically going to do this. It's going to say, okay, you want to render a button with these parameters, with these attributes? Well, let's do that, but let's also put it in a cache, and we'll say the cache key is the name of the component and the parameters that you passed in. So if you want to do it again another time, we just check. We go, hey, did we already render a component with that name and those props? Well, let's just pull that out of the cache and use that, and it'll just keep doing that. So we add memo true, and now we reload, and it's just 100 milliseconds, but it still renders all 3 components right there. And so you can render as many as you want, and it's always going to be stuck at 100 milliseconds because it only has to render the first one, and the next ones you get for free. It's basic caching, except it's not going to bloat up your Redis cache or your database cache. It's memoization. It happens in memory. It's literally, just for fun, let me show you the memo class that's in charge of it. There's protected static memo. That's what it is. The whole cache is contained in there. To clear the cache, it just wipes out that variable. It's just a variable that has uses is set, get, things like that. Okay. So if you have something different like foo bar baz, now it's going to be 300 milliseconds because these are different combinations. So I hit save and it's 300 milliseconds. There you go. So when do you use memoization? Memoization is really handy for components that are repeated often. So something like an avatar and an icon we found are perfect for that. So if you look in the source code of our avatar component, it's Blaze memo true at the top. And that speeds up a lot of, basically what we've been doing is we build something in Blaze, we test it out on a big project, and we look to see all the things that we couldn't optimize, and we find a new way to optimize it. And memoization is something that we needed to just get us that extra level. Okay. So that's memoization. We can do even better than that with code folding. This is the real exciting stuff. This is the stuff that sent me on the Blaze journey. This other stuff actually came later. This is the core insight that made me go, oh, wow, this project is worth building, even if it's hard, because this is just so valuable. Code folding. Let me just show you the effect, and then we'll dig into how it works. So I say fold equals true, and I hit save. And now it rendered all that stuff in 3.5 milliseconds. How is that even possible? How is it possible? It didn't even render one of them once? it says 1,000 milliseconds right here, or sorry, 100 milliseconds. It didn't need to render it at all. Is that possible? And you load it in the browser and they all load, like, clearly. Actually, that looks like it was slow. I wonder why that was slow. Is it slow? Yeah, 764 milliseconds. It might be because I need to clear my view cache. Let me try this again. Okay, there you go. 25 milliseconds. Yep, 28 milliseconds. Most of that's just Laravel overhead. Okay. Folding. What is code folding? How does it work? You need to see, you need to understand. It's so beautiful. It comes from the ancient Japanese, no, I'm just kidding. It comes from compilers, compiled programming languages, and they had a term called constant folding. So think about this. If this was a compiled language and you had foo equals 1 plus 2, well, if you think about it, these are constants. They're never going to change. So why would we charge the runner of this program to do 1 plus 2 every time, even though it's always going to be the exact same output? So constant folding is taking constants like 1 and 2 and turning those constant expressions and turning those into hard-coded values. So it'll compile the program and it's intelligent. It goes, oh, well, we know 1 plus 2 is 3. So let's just hard code in 3. And now you've literally deleted runtime overhead. You've deleted it. Okay. So the same exact thing can be applied to blade components, where you go, like, look at this. There is nothing dynamic here. All of this stuff you know ahead of time. You know what a button with the label foo is going to be at compile time. So why not just render it at compile time and delete the blade component? I hope you understand. I'll show you what the compiled file looks like, and I hope that clicks for you. But code folding means deleting code. You delete components so they don't cost you anything. So let's look at it. This is the compiled file. Look at that. There is no PHP. There is no runtime overhead. It's just the rendered output printed into the compiled file. Does that make sense? If I change this stuff, it updates the file. It's whatever. And so you run it and it takes 5 milliseconds because it's nothing, right? Okay. I hope that point landed, because that's a really, really important point. But of course, it's not all guns and roses. Welcome to Complexity Cove, partial code folding. Prepare yourself. This is where everything gets blown out of the water. Now we're into the realm of things that you don't have to understand, but you get to understand. Okay, it's your privilege. Check this out. This stuff is static. We know what it is, so we can fold it. Remember that example of 1 plus 2, where we can just turn it into 3 at compile time? Well, what if this was not, if this was dynamic, if we have number plus 2? We can't turn it into 3 because we don't know number at all, right? So dynamic things break folding. You can't fold things that are dynamic. So what if we had PHP number equals, or no, let's say label, I don't know, foo, that's it. Yeah, foo equals bar. Foo equals bar. Okay. And then this label, let's say we did that. Now it's dynamic. Okay. What happens? We can't fold it. So I hit save and look at that. It knows, it's intelligent. It said, that first one we can't fold because that, label foo, that's dynamic. So we skip that. We still use the optimized compiler, which is really great, but we'll fold the rest, right? Well, there is a way for certain types of variables, like this label variable. If you think about it, nothing complicated happens inside here with it. It really just takes label and passes it right through, right? All it does is take it in as a prop and spit it out as some content inside of a button, right? It's passed through. So you can declare certain variables or certain props as safe. But this is where there's dragons. You have to understand what you're doing here. That's what the README is for. You know what? Even if you don't, you could just skip folding. All of Flux is all fluxed out for you. You don't have to understand this stuff because we do, and we optimized our own components for this. So if I say safe label, and now I hit save, and then I refresh that page, re-render it, take a look at this. Whoa, what happened there? It did actually fold the dynamic component. It folded everything around the dynamic part, and it preserved the dynamic part right in there. Isn't that crazy? Does that click with you? Do you understand what's going on here? Like, what if I do this? Whoops. Just try to make this point land harder. What is happening? Fo, okay. Fo and do now to actually literally hard code a timestamp or something. Hit save. Okay. And that's going to happen because I saved the nested thing and not the outer thing. Okay. Now look at faux is hard coded. So is the timestamp. That timestamp is hard coded in the compile time. That's why folding is dangerous, because if you have super dynamic things that need to always be dynamic, we don't always know that. You have to be aware of that. But foo stay dynamic. And that is pretty freaking awesome. How do we do that? How does it work? How are we analyzing this and knowing that one thing is dynamic and knowing how to isolate it? Well, I made a TL draw for you. Okay. You ready for the TL draw? Now we're really out into the badlands. Okay. You don't have to pay attention at this point. You can just, just close your laptop, get out of here. Look at this. This is a tokenized parser. What's a tokenized parser? Blade is a regex parser. Blade uses regex to search out @include and replace it with stuff. Well, we need something more than that to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. We have to know everything about all the components, all the props, all the slots, everything. So we made a tokenized parser. I didn't know anything about them. Turns out they're not that hard to understand. So I thought I'd make a TL draw to teach you how they work. Okay. This is how a tokenized parser works. You take in source code, you blast it into tokens, you assemble them into an abstract syntax tree, and you compile it back into source code. It's a closed loop. Okay. So let's just look at that loop when it comes to Blade components. You have a Blade component like X button, class, key, hi username, right? Okay. Well, you can tokenize it. So you can go literally character by character. It's a loop, a while loop, and you go character by character, and you classify the characters into these tokens. Is this the tag opening? Is it the tag name, right? And you just keep classifying them, and you go, oh, this is a new token type. Let's start collecting new characters. Oh, new token type. Okay. You do that, and then you end up with this flat list of all of these tokens. Now, this is the colorful version, but this is the actual version. It's an array of nested arrays in PHP that you have these tokens, the type, and then their value. Okay. This thing is a flat hierarchy. You've just tokenized the whole page. Now you go through it, you do another pass, and you make a nested hierarchy, something more structured, an abstract syntax tree, where you can say, okay, now we have nodes. The type is a component. The name is X button. The attributes are class and key, and the children are text and default. And you can create this for an entire Blade template. And we do. We create an abstract syntax tree for the whole Blade template so that we know all the components and all their nested interactions and things. And now we could just compile that back into source code, or we could transform that AST right in place before we compile it back. So check this out. We can loop through it and go, hey, are there any values that are dynamic? Oh, this one is dynamic, right? Just like this. We go, ooh, label is dynamic. So we do see a dynamic value. Well, what if we replace that with a static placeholder, just a string called placeholder1 and placeholder2? Then we render it. Okay, so now we have the Blade component, but with those static placeholders right in there, placeholder 1, placeholder 2. Now let's render this with Blade. So we're pre-rendering it at compile time. We go, okay, now we have a normal button, type button, and those placeholders, right? Well, we can take those placeholders and replace them back with the dynamic part. And this is partial folding. We folded away the rest of the component, but we've kept the dynamic part. Does that make sense? So that's how something like this works, is we literally do this at compile time where we turn this into this. Like placeholder, literally. I think we call it placeholder, and then we have numbers, right? So we do something like this, then we render it literally with Blade render. That's how we do it. This string goes into Blade render, we get the output, and then we use string replace to replace this placeholder back with that dynamic value, and that gives us the partial folded thing. Okay, you following any of this? Code folding, partial folding? I have no idea. Let's get out of the weeds. Let's get back to the surface and see Blaze in the wild on an actual page, okay? So Blaze, let's enable debug. So this is a shout out to Philippe. He went above and beyond, and now we have nice debugging out of the box. So if you, in your service provider or in your env file, you say Blaze debug equals true, and now you can see exactly how fast the page took to render the Blade, okay? So this is all Blazified. So this is rendering in 3 milliseconds and it has 1,000 views. Let's turn off Blaze. So Blaze enabled is false. And I'm going to artisan view clear and refresh this page. And it's 122 milliseconds for the first run for the compile. Now it's 42 milliseconds. So just with a normal Blade, this takes 40 milliseconds, okay? Well, here's a really, really, really awesome thing that Philippe made, a profiler. So if you want to know, oh, what about this page is so slow, you can hit open profiler. And now you have a perfect profiler that explains everything. There were 1,000 Blade components rendered. Here's a list of all the slowest ones, and you can drill down into an individual one and see, Okay, Flux field, that's slow. Why? Because it has 2 children, Flux label and Flux error. What is the self time of that? 0.04 milliseconds. What's the source file? Resources views Flux error.blade.php, percent of render. It goes on and on and on. It's so cool. It's so useful. How awesome is that? This is the point where you're all cheering in the audience and Philippe is blushing or something or standing up and bowing. I'm not sure. So that's pretty awesome. And it also compares things. So this is 40 milliseconds with just Blade. And if we re-enable Blaze and clear the cache and do this again, now it's giving us comparisons because it knows how long it took with Blade. So it's going, hey, you just saved yourself 35 milliseconds, which is 12 times faster when you're using Blaze. And it'll tell you exactly every single component that was folded. It'll say 300 of them got folded, 163 of them were compiled. You can see every single one. You go, why wasn't badge folded? And you can inspect that and find a way to fold it, right? So cool. So this is the part where I'm just going to reload different pages in this examples thing. And we're just going to say ooh and ah, okay? So look at this, 50,000 components. It's taking forever to render. This is just Blade. It took 3.2 seconds for the compile. Now it's 1 second for every subsequent request. So slow, right? But it's 50,000 components. Giant loop Kanban board, a lot of avatars, a lot of icons. Yep. Now we enable Blaze, clear the cache, refresh. Just the compiling phase, just to compile it. This is the part when I was building Blaze, I was like, okay, this is going to be way faster, but the compilation is so much more complicated. It has to know all this stuff. So the compilation is going to be slower. And no, it's actually way faster because we can reuse a lot of things as we go. So just compiling this was 66 milliseconds. Now the refresh is 50 milliseconds, 40 milliseconds, 45, 37, whatever. Look at that, 27 times faster. It renders 50,000 components in 37 milliseconds. Let's look at 100,000 components. That's nothing. 120 milliseconds for 100,000 components? That's absurd. I know you're like, okay, we get it, but I need to do it. I have to do it. I have to change this. Oh, somebody's joining me. Let's refresh, check it out. Oh, it's taking forever. Okay, 5 seconds to 100 milliseconds. That's just wild. Okay, is that not wild? All right, so that's it. You can use it with your own components. This is our custom components page where we show you it's not just Flux. That is Flux. We are going to tag it. I'll tag it right now. That's Flux. No, this is Blaze. It's great. We're going to tag it, and then we'll do a Q&A or whatever, okay? Here we go. Let's do it. Boom, boom. Are we ready to do it?
I got you, Caleb. This is what the people were...
Nice. Okay. Sweet. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Dan. I really needed that. I'm probably going to have to log in, I bet.
From looking at the chat, that was the noises being made.
Nice.
Shouting at home, I'm sure, at work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, throwing their Donato's pizza at the TV, just sliding down amidst their cheering. Okay, Blaze 1.0. Are we ready to do this thing? Do you have the applause queued up, or do you have more on your soundboard?
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want? I got a few things.
I want we get creative with it. I mean, we could do a rocket launch. We could do we need
this is a favorite of mine when working with someone and we're ready to push some code.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I don't want to play it too long.
All right, it's done. So where's the confetti? Get up. Oh wait. Confetti. Boom, let's go.
It's launched. It's out there.
Okay, Blaze is out there. This is going to make everybody's apps super fast. This is literally the missing link. The one missing piece here is like, I'm so happy with everything else about this little ecosystem, these components, Livewire, everything, except it all comes crumbling down if it's slow. And Blaze is our way to make it not the case. It's super freaking fast. That's that. All right, Blaze is out there. What do we got? How we feeling?
Oh man, there is so much going on in the chat here. People's I think brains exploding. So I hope they're okay. But yeah, lots of we've got so many comments to go through. These
are the things I can't do at a Laracon. Like
we should.
I had a whole talk kind of like this, but it's like it's too complicated. There's too much looking under the hood, and I needed a meetup where I could just get into the meat of things.
So there were a few comments or questions about like this of this nature here from Mario. Why isn't this the default behavior for Laravel Blade?
Right.
Or Cohen says, shouldn't this be first party native in the framework for Blade? So what do you have to say about that, Caleb? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
You don't control the framework, but
yeah, no, I mean, Taylor has asked me that same question.
Mhm.
Like, should we just put this into, and Laravel has done a lot to optimize components. These benchmarks would have been way more compelling like a year or two ago. Nuno did a bunch of optimizations because there were like uncached reflection calls, which just made it disgustingly slow. But now all the reflection is cached and whatever, so it's much faster. But yeah, why are we doing this in Laravel core? Maybe there's a version of this that goes into Laravel core. I pretty much told Taylor like, I don't know if this is something that you could just merge in without like people stepping on rakes. So let's like let it simmer out in the wild, and then you could see, Taylor is welcome to have any amount of blades that he wants into the framework. They could do their own. I only care that Blade is fast, so do whatever you want, sunset Blaze. But to answer the actual question, the first thing is, I'll go optimization strategy by strategy. So there's remember the new compiler, the memoization, and the code folding. So the new compiler is safe. You can just add Blaze to a component, and you don't have to know a lot about how Blaze works. But like I had mentioned, we stripped out a bunch of these would be breaking changes in Laravel. So you could add them back. And Philippe did a lot of this compiler, and he said that these just add like unnecessary milliseconds that 98% of components don't use any of this stuff. But we could add it back and it would still be much faster, probably twice as fast, but not, 9 times as fast as it is right now.
Mhm.
I'm curious to hear Philippe's perspective. So Philippe, I actually have my Telegram open. Philippe, you could just hit me up or just put it in the chat. But Philippe is actually the man for this question. But I think that's one reason is like, it's like the perfect community thing to do. Perfect third party thing is to be like, listen, are we using view share anymore for our Blade components? No, let's just cut it out and make everything really fast. But Taylor can't do that, because if he does that, then everybody goes, wow, I remember breaking changes. So that's one answer. And then the other stuff, the memoization and the folding, there be dragons. It's just like, these are sharp knives that he could totally add to the framework, but you would just have to document a lot about it. Like if you look at the docs for this, it's like, caution, folding requires careful consideration. We're constantly stepping on rakes when we're using it. We're going, oh yeah, we can't fold this because of this weird thing that we didn't realize. And then like, here's one area where once I saw this bug, I immediately knew that this is a sharp knife. I used code folding, like I applied it to everything, I think. And then it was all the links in the sidebar of the Flux docs page. So right here in docs, right? And I navigated to another page, and what was it? I don't remember. I'm switching pages, but this isn't changing. But the URL bar is changing. And I remember thinking, there's something gravely wrong with my browser. Like my browser is broken. It's stuck on the installation page, even though I changed pages. But if you think about it for 2 seconds, what happened was at compile time, it folded that state. It said that this is the current URL, because in the Blade component, we had like request is. So it said this is the current URL. And now that was stored in a compiled file, and it was that way forever. So it all worked, but it wasn't dynamic about which page was the current page. And I couldn't detect the bug. I didn't know to even blame Blaze. So I was like, this is the kind of thing that's not just going to error out with an error on your page that you can read and understand. There's going to be subtle things that you go, wait, what? So that's where we're like, this is kind of a sharp knife. There's probably way more intelligent ways to approach it that we can keep building towards that would make it more automated that people could use it. But this is a very, very long explanation for that question, but it's the biggest question.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And any advice on, hey, if I wanted to try to start using this, what I might want to keep my eye on, or what views might be especially beneficial of using this or safer to use?
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, the normal like @Blaze function compiler, that's safe. Like, I don't know. I don't use any of this stuff in any of my components in all my apps, and I don't think you do either. And even if you do, maybe you could refactor it out, whatever. This was Philippe's big push, because he was like, I want Blaze to be useful to actually improve performance for people that don't want to mess with the dangerous stuff. So just do that. Like, you can just do this and it will be safe. These other ones though, to like learn like what, right, the question of like what components are good for these types of things. Static things. If you have a big component, think about it. Does that button need to know anything about the outside world? If it doesn't, then you can fold it. But there are really tricky things like, whoops, I'm going to open up every cursor window I've ever opened. I've just switched from from cursor to VS Code again, so my brain always types cursor. But let me show you, if you have like an input component, like X input, and then in it, you know, you have a lot of stuff and you have an input element and you think, oh, this is perfect for folding, but you might have like, you know, error, name, you know, message, like that kind of thing. Well, you can't fold that component because that needs to be dynamic forever. You know, that's a side effect. If it's not a pure function anymore, it's something that's looking to the outside world for things that change. So that's going to cause an error. You're going to have an input. If this folded, every time you're never going to see a validation error because this is going to get folded away, if that makes sense. But we did, you know, we ran into things like this inside of Flux and we were like, it's not good enough. We need to do better. So let me actually open up our Flux index. Let me see if I have this in there. Yeah. So I added this thing called Unblaze, where you can basically declare parts of a blade component that will always be dynamic, and you pass scope into them, and then you access the scope through scope. It's heady, and it's like, I don't even care if anybody ever uses this, but this allows me to take things like an input and be able to fold them and squeeze like every drop of performance out of these components. But yeah, this is just somebody, you know, if you're interested in like the crazy advantages here, like just go read all the things you shouldn't do and it will tell you. Yeah.
That's so cool. There's just so much to get. I want to get through some of these comments because there's so many of them here.
We got a lot. A lot of people were really excited, and people are just joining us now too. Maybe just a quick question, just someone. Oh, go for it, Dan. Go for it. Yeah.
Sorry, just this one I think just kind of summarizes my my thoughts there from Liam. That I'm glad Caleb had the patience to work on Blaze because this I love. So yeah, nice. We're all going to potentially benefit from this, but I'm sure it took a lot of patience and hard work, not just from yourself. I know you mentioned Philippe as well. So
yeah, Philippe did a bunch on it. Josh as well. Josh Hanley, another team member. There was like, I spent a long freaking time on Blaze. And then after Laracon and everything, I was just like handed over to Josh and was like, go fix all the bugs, please. There's so many bugs. And he was like, it's not the kind of project you can just jump into. You have to like really understand these crazy things like a tokenized parser and abstract syntax tree stuff and fold. Like, it is very heady. So he did that really hard work to understand it. And then eventually it turned into Philippe, where it was like, hey, Philippe, can you go whatever? And then he contributed a ton to Blaze. So it really is the three of us. But yeah, it was the kind of thing that was fun because it pushed me farther in the programming stuff. And this was before AI was incredibly good. So it like helped me somewhat, but I still had to understand it all. So that was fun to like get to understand.
Yeah. Sure. There's lots of components that have elements in them, like the WYSIWYG in Flux. Does it support Livewire JS events?
So that's two questions.
I guess it is. Yeah.
And the first one is,
does it work with components that have elements in them, like the WYSIWYG in Flux?
So the rich text editor in Flux, let's just take a quick gander at it.
Yeah.
We go to editor. And, you know, so I'm guessing they're saying like, if you have maybe a custom thing in the sidebar or something like that. I don't know, but let's just take a look. Editor index. So this is Blaze optimized, but it's not foldable. And it's not foldable because of, I remember the reason, but I don't remember the reason. What is it? It's something. It's something small. It's like one of these things. Maybe it might be link. This is maybe validate, like we use validation maybe on it or something. Something has to be dynamic. I forget what it is. So we can't fold all of the editor, which is annoying. It's the same problem, I think, as with field. Is that there's I don't know, whatever. I don't have a good answer, but this one doesn't fold. But most components fold when they can, but I guess editor does not. So no to that question. What was the second question?
The second part said, does it support Livewire JS events?
Yeah, I mean, again, Blaze is going to support everything when you're just using Blaze. When you're using fold, which is the real awesome optimization that's dangerous. I don't see how that would mess with events at all. Like if you were, if you had Exxon or like wire foo, and then somewhere you dispatched foo, I don't see how that would interact with any. That's all JavaScript side. So JavaScript side is fine. So yeah. So I'll say yes, it works fine.
And then this question about for Flux, do we need to manually set this up?
Yeah. So right now, if you want Blaze and Flux, just do this: composer require Livewire Blaze, and that's it. You just hit enter and it's done, because we added all the @Blaze to Flux. So yes, you do have to do this right now. Eventually, I imagine this will be ubiquitous and stable, and we will just require it from Flux by default. So every app has it, but I'm just not ready for that yet. I still want people to opt into it in case there's edge cases and things that we haven't thought about.
For sure. With bleeding edge, I'm sure there's lots people to try out. Speaking of trying out, someone was asking, what's the cost of it? And I think you mentioned this already. It's free. It's open source.
Yeah, it's free. It's open source. It has nothing to do with anything, in the sense that if you look at the composer.json, the requirements are Illuminate support, PHP, Illuminate Vue. There's nothing else. So it doesn't depend on Flux. There's no dependency with Livewire. It's just pure Laravel. Nothing but Laravel. You can use it without all the other ecosystem tools. It's kind of a standalone, dedicated tool.
It's not be interesting for anyone to get their hands on it. It'd be pretty lightweight.
It's fun to build a project that like you could use anywhere in Laravel and not just in Livewire. It's like fun to like offer something to the rest of the community, which is cool.
Yeah. Jumping to another one of Liam's questions. So you mentioned the placeholder finding makes sense for string params, but how do you know ahead of time at compilation if the variable is a string?
Right. This is where you don't know. You never know. So that's why we have these safe and unsafe. You have to know, do you have label plus something else or whatever? You have to be able to look at this and go, oh, this can be, I can't just use placeholder replacement with this or something. You have to use your brain to decide what is safe and unsafe for that placeholder dynamic pass-through thing. And yes, it's pretty much only forwarded strings, which honestly doesn't happen that much with props. But where it does happen a ton is slots like this. And we automatically make slots safe. But that's where the real power of partial folding comes in, is most components use slots, and a slot, if you think about it, is just a string that gets forwarded through the component. So this is where it's perfect for that. But yeah, we kept getting increasingly disappointed as we dug deeper and deeper. Philippe dug way deeper even than I did, and was like, all these things you thought we could optimize, you can't optimize because that variable could be some other thing, and it won't, and it'll get folded wrong, or it shouldn't get, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. And then another question here. So Alex asks, so will this in theory improve test performance too?
Yeah, it would be the same. I mean, all of the totally, I bet by a lot, all of the benchmarking that you saw here is in the terminal. It's the same as if you were running a test. So whether browser test, unit test, the exact same performance benefit. In fact, it will be much faster because, and maybe not, I don't know. Most of the time, opcache is disabled for terminal environments. So like right now, I'd have to like set it up. But if you look at your INI file, so if I say like herd INI, now it's going to open up all of Cursor and every single thing I've ever opened. Maybe not. I explicitly enabled opcache in the CLI, but if I didn't, opcache would not be enabled, and Blade is even slower, like 3 times as slow in the CLI as it is in the browser by default, because opcache is disabled by default in a terminal. So that's a long explanation for, it's going to speed up your tests by a lot.
Obviously, the test that would be rendering Blade things, right?
Yeah, it's not going to speed up your non-Blade tests, unfortunately.
But that's cool. Yeah, even without opcache. I didn't realize that was the default behavior generally in the CLI.
When I was first kind of investigating some of this performance stuff, I remember kind of alarmistly messaging Taylor some of these results and being like, dude, this seems crazy. And he's like, well, you're in the terminal, so opcache is disabled. So that doesn't matter when you're in. And I was like, oh, you're right. Like, and he was right that it's not as bad as it is in the terminal. Yeah.
There was a question here, AI related. Is there a Laravel Boost guideline? And then
Yeah, there should be.
friend of the show Pushback agrees. He says yes, we need Boost guidelines.
Yeah, we got Pushback right here. He's gonna make it happen. I did write an agents.md file, but maybe we trashed it, Philippe. I don't know what we did with it. So this one's on Philippe. No, he probably said, should we update this for the new thing? And I was probably like, but we did have an agents.md file. Maybe it's upgrading. Yeah. No, it's not that. Whatever. We should have an LLM file that can evaluate where it can be used. Like that is a perfect. Yeah, he's telling me we trashed it. So we trashed it. He said, but we'll add it back. So between Philippe and Pushback, oh yeah, it's taken care of.
I believe it. I really do. That's awesome. Actually, there was a lot of questions here for Philippe in the chat. Are you planning on include Bond inside Livewire? What is it? Another question about news on Flux 3. So lots of questions for Philippe there too. I don't know if you can answer any of them, Caleb, but
yeah, news on Flux 3. That would be a me question, and the answer to Flux 3 questions are: I would love a Flux 3. The things that I want to change in Flux. I want to switch from using from like explicitly putting Tailwind utilities everywhere to like an @apply type thing. The thing that they tell you is to do as a last resort. I think with a framework makes a ton of sense, and you'll see that a lot of UI frameworks have shifted to this because of this problem I'm describing of like you don't want to have all of that stuff in the server running at runtime all the time. It's so much more efficient, and there's a lot of benefits to just having BTN primary. So I want to switch to something like this. So Blade source files are much cleaner, and they just say something like BTN primary. And then this also makes it so that this is probably the biggest benefit of switching to something like that is if you have a button. What the heck is that? If you have a button and you say like, if under the hood it's just BTN button, then you could add like BG Gray 500 or something, and you won't run into conflicts. Where if we're explicitly writing BG Gray like 400 or let's say 700, we're going to win, depending on the order. Like I'm sure people have run into these conflicts. So that's one optimization I want to make. I want to make it more themable and use CSS variables like deeply. And we need to upgrade our WYSIWYG editor is stuck on an older version of TipTap because we have extensions for like people can use their own extensions. So we can't just upgrade the TipTap thing because all their extensions would break. So yes, there is a Flux 3 in our future. We're not working on it immediately right now, but I have visions for it. I want way better theming. And by better, I mean, I love our theming, but I want you to be able to do things like say how rounded it is. Things like that. You want it all to be rounded. You want shadows to be a certain way. You change the whole look by changing a few CSS variables. So better theming, better, CSS structure so that the templates are cleaner and we're doing more heavy lifting in CSS and upgrading TipTap. And that's all I can think of off the top of my head for a Flux 3. But yeah, I would like to do that.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. I feel like there's lots of cool things that are coming up, that's for sure. And then somebody also just related to Blaze and Flux. I guess, sorry, I can't find the comment here. So maybe Dan, if you can find that. But just really quickly, somebody wanted to know the Flux upgrade. Is it enough to have Blaze as well? Is Flux already using this? Sorry, that's the one question that I have here, but can't find the comment.
What's the question?
It's sort of a manual opt-in, I think, right now. If you want to,
yeah. If you want Blaze, you have to write composer require Livewire Blaze. But yeah, yep. Right now, it's a manual opt-in. I mean, it would be something that I don't know. We don't have like a PHP artisan Flux :install or something because that would be the perfect time to say, "Hey, do you want Blaze?" But yeah, you just have to composer require yourself. We should probably add something in the docs for it, huh? You'd think we should have a big fat step in the installation. And Philippe, go ahead and do that, Philippe. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, there was
actually the notion.
Speaking of documentation, there was a question here about Unblaze specifically. Is it documented? How can I use it properly?
Yeah, let's see if it's still documented here. Unblaze is sweet. That was me just like sitting there going, how in the world am I gonna, and found a way. The Unblaze directive. Yeah. So it's right there, documented. Yep. Unblaze.
There we go.
Pretty crazy, heady stuff. I really wanted to, I don't know. I'm curious. I mean, you could tell me how you think it landed, but you won't tell me if it didn't land well, but you should. The compiled thing is like people, when they're working with Laravel, they should have it in their tool belt to open up storage framework views and look at the compiled views because it tells you so much. Just understanding that that's the actual thing that gets run. So when there's an error, a bug, or whatever, sometimes it's not obvious from the blade file and you need to drop down to that level, and it's just enlightening. And that's like, if people left here with nothing else, I really honestly, they should just leave here knowing that, because it makes you a better Laravel developer. And that's the kind of thing where you can really understand Unblaze when you test out the compiled file and you look at what gets compiled and you go, oh, interesting. Then you can make your own decisions,
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's such a sort of like primitive foundational thing that we use all the time in a Laravel application. And, I'm just as guilty of it. Like, you might use it, not even think, twice about how it's kind of all working under the hood, right? It's just, just magic. But yeah, definitely those times when you need that lower level of knowledge because you're having performance issues, it's nice to know where to look for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a question. This is a very, very practical one, I think, for people working on legacy applications, as many of us are. But will there be any benefits for a legacy app that doesn't use Blade components but hundreds of Blade partials?
No, unfortunately, we only optimize anonymous Blade components. That's a big fatter now. No, very sad. So no, but I think you learned some things maybe in this talk that empowered you to maybe be able to write one yourself pretty easily. That would be so easy to do. Oh, you should do it.
Somebody out there, do it.
Somebody make a partial optimizer. I bet you could Claude code vibe it in like half an hour.
There you go. Challenge accepted, somebody, hopefully. Very, very valid question here from Liam as well. He says, why don't you just use middle out compression to make the Blade file smaller? It's a Silicon Valley show. Joke for those
I was literally about to like ChatGPT. What is middle
out compression?
What is that?
That's funny.
Let's. I think I was just looking at the time. We do need to get out of here shortly, but I think we probably have time for a couple more questions, comments. Any stand out to you there in the chat, Margot?
Yeah, one here. I know Philippe's been in the chat as well too. But so the question was, is there .md/boost documentation for Blaze for AI assisted coding purposes? I think Philippe actually responded, AI guidelines will be added soon. So you're looking for that.
Not yet. We trashed him. We had him. We trashed him. Sorry. They're in the Git history. So there's that.
So I guess you can kind of take a look there if you want.
Yeah.
Cool. And then is the here's a question. The profiler, is that open source?
Yeah. It's right in Blaze. It's not even a separate dependency. It's just literally if you in your env do Blaze debug true, you have the profiler. And actually this is crazy. The profiler didn't exist like 3 days ago. I was having a powwow with Philippe. I was like, dude, this thing's coming out in like a few days. Got to make a splash. Is there anything that like, I was just like, this is our chance to like do something, anything awesome we want to do, we should do right now. And he was like, I'll think about it next day. I think this was it 2 days ago, Philippe, 3 days ago? He's like, I've been cooking. and there's a profiler in full form. And the profiler is, forget about Blaze. Don't even use Blaze. Use the profiler to like debug slowness in your Blade. It's a perfectly good Blade component profiler without even Blaze. Like even if you don't want to optimize any components, it will show you what parts of your rendering are slow. So that's super useful because debug bar is great, but when it comes to like Blade views and things, it can be a little bit limiting in the information it gives you.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Maybe a couple more. There's kind of a low level question here from Eric.
The middle out entered compiler.
Are you using the Blade prepared strings for compilation using to pre-compile stuff? I do this for some crazy stuff of mine.
Oh yeah, we are. That was added fairly recently. It's like, I don't even know how deep of the question this is, but it could be extremely deep. So there's this thing here. This is actually pretty fun. I almost want to take time to show you, but we don't have time. Blade pre-compiler like this. Pre-compiler or pre-compile? I don't know. But you can do this in a service provider. And now everything that gets compiled by Blade, you have the chance to intercept.
Oh, so it's like a hook.
It's a middleware, and this is how Blaze works. Like if we go to the Blaze repo and then the service provider, you'll see right here. Let's see where we do the thing, intercept Blade compilation. We have to hack it even further, unfortunately, but essentially this is how Blaze works. And yeah, we use this, but precompile runs after. If you have like PHP, that turns into this first, or if you have at verbatim, those get extracted into like some string and then replaced later on, and precompile runs after that stuff. So Nuno, I think, pull requested this a couple of years ago. That's prepare string for compilation using that executes like the very first thing. But we need to execute even before other things like that. So we had to create a hacked version called earliest pre-compilation hook that hacks Blade's compiler hooks to make sure that we're the first ones that run. There you go.
Man, yes. There's so much deep diving on some of these things, right?
Deep fun stuff. Yeah.
How the innards of things work. So
yeah.
All right. Looking at the time, I do think we could probably talk all day, but it's such a big day of streams and stuff going on the Laravel YouTube channel.
Here. Free it up. We'll free up the.
Want to get out because it looks like I think at 1:30 Eastern there's looks like some giveaways, and I think at 2:00 Eastern I think Taylor's on the stream at that point. So
there you go.
Everybody stay tuned for all of that. We've got one more kind of comment I think kind of ties it all together. When you were first sharing your screen at the start and talking about Carl says, Caleb, I made a light mode theme for VS Code based on the website for Laravel called Artisan Theme. So there's another option, all your different in addition to all your different Tokyo options.
Artisan theme. So you just
as well.
you just install it. Do I trust the publisher? Of course I do. I would trust Josh's streams with my life. Artisan theme. Ooh, I like that.
Very nice.
I should have used that.
Now you've got it for the next time.
Oh, yeah. Good work. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, Caleb, thank you again for joining us, taking the time out. We were very fortunate to be the host for your launch of Blaze here.
Dude, thanks so much for having me, guys.
And any parting thoughts before we send everyone on their way?
Go forth and Blaze.
We know lots of people are already saying that they've installed and it's been working great. So
nice. Wow, crazy, cool. Yeah, install it, report bugs, better yet, fix them and report pull requests.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Caleb. I know we all took a lot from that, and we'll be looking forth to see what's coming from the Blaze project. So
thanks so much, guys.
Thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right.
All the best.
Thanks, Caleb.
All right, and with that, we just have a bit of community stuff, and we'll wrap up and let people get on with all the other streams that are going on the Laravel YouTube channel today. So, what do we have going on here?
For sure. Thanks, Dan. Make sure to join us on March 31st. That's going to be our next meetup. We're going to have Joshua Bloom from Statamic team talking about Statamic 6. So a lot of cool stuff that's going on there that you don't want to miss. So, and on the screen right now, you have the QR code for the giveaway that we're going to be doing. So up until what time? March 3rd, you have a chance to win one of 2 JetBrains IDEs for a full year subscription. So make sure to enter, and then you'll be emailed if you have been notified to win. And then up next, if you want to reach us, please stay connected with us by following us on X. You can follow us at Laravel WW Meetup. You can also follow us on Blue Sky at Laravel WW Meetup. And for all of your Laravel Worldwide Meetup updates, make sure to check us out on the official website, meetup.laravel.com. You can sign up for email notifications to never miss a meetup moving forward. And then make sure to follow us on YouTube. So thanks so much for everyone who's subscribed. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to find out any more notifications, but you can find us on youtube.com/LaravelPHP. And thanks for watching on YouTube.
And that is it. All right. With that, send everyone on their way. Again, stay tuned to the Laravel YouTube channel. There's lots of great streams coming up from a number of people on the Laravel team and the Laravel community, and lots of fun stuff going on in this 1-year anniversary of Laravel Cloud release. And once again, thank you so much to Caleb for joining us and sharing in the launch of Blaze. And we're all pretty excited about the performance improvements this could mean for some of our applications. Margaret, any thoughts, parting thoughts for you today?
I've learned so much to deep dive into today, so it's been amazing. And if anyone else has some interesting things to talk about Laravel related, make sure to contact us. You'll find our information down below in the description box. We'd love to have people talk about some pretty awesome stuff happening in the Laravel world. So thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.